Well, good morning. Finally, we got the technical issues sorted out. Well, I'm back in a location I don't think I've been in for nearly 5 years now. This is Balcombe in Sussex, and I'm about 200 yards up the hill from the entrance to the well site. And of course, 5 years ago in August and September of 2013, this was where it all kicked off. This was the first attempt by any of the unconventional gas companies to effectively get the ball rolling. And Quadrilla were planning on doing a flow test here. They were planning on effectively doing an initial frack to establish the viability of the well here, but they ran out of time. They ran out of time because their planning permission expired on September 28th of 2013, and they haven't been back since. Well, subsequently, they've effectively sold this site on to Angus Energy, and Angus have announced that they're coming back to do a flow test. And just been down to the gates. Unfortunately, there's no signal down there, but they put up a new set of wooden gates, and just inside the gates are whatever the collective noun for security guards. I think it might be a dick of security guards or something like that anyway. But they're all just hanging around behind the gates there. Now, Angus went to the High Court last Thursday, apparently, and sought an injunction. So this is yet another attempt to establish an injunction in secret. So although no formal paperwork has been published yet or distributed, the Balcombe local council, the parish council, put out an announcement on Friday that Angus had advised them that they had now got an injunction in place. And it seems that later today, the formal announcement will be made. Now, what's really interesting about this, of course, is that Angus have sought an injunction without any protest here whatsoever in any way, shape or form since 2013. And the judiciary are simply granting these injunctions on a very, very low bar. So in reality, people need to understand that we clearly no longer live in anything that resembles a democracy. We are living in a corporatocracy, which is ruled by corporations. And the corporations are relying very much on the support of the judiciary. So this is a KRITARCHY, ruled by judges. So where this is going is that the media and your MPs will try to maintain the illusion that we have a parliamentary democracy, but that illusion will only be sustained whilst the corporations can basically do whatever it is that they want to do. And what we are seeing time and time again is that the corporations can simply go to the civil courts, the commercial courts, and effectively ride absolute roughshod over parliamentary law. So this is very, very disturbing, and I know that Friends of the Earth and others have called these injunctions chilling. Well, that's in fact what they are. Because if this was going on in, say, Russia or North Korea, then the media would be all over it, and MPs would be condemning it as an attack on the freedom of expression and the freedom and the rights to assembly as enshrined in the European Convention on Human Rights. And even though one that I'm aware of doesn't exist in either Russia or North Korea, nonetheless, the British media would paint it as yet another illustration of oppression in those cultures. And yet we have it right here. right here on our doorstep. And unfortunately, the vast majority of people don't care. And of course, this is what they rely on. This is what the corporations and the judiciary rely upon, that people would just go, oh, well, it's not affecting me right now, so, you know, I'll just let it ride and carry on with my usual day-to-day routine. But this is the thin end of a very, very fat wedge, because these injunctions are setting precedents so that basically it doesn't matter what the corporations want to do, provided Parliament says, yeah, you can crack on and do it, regardless of public opposition, then all they got to do is rock up to the courts and really, without telling anyone they're doing it, because they can do it in secret, then they get their injunction rubber stamped. Now, what's very disturbing about this is that you know, I was in court last year, in November 2017, when Justice Morgan expressed his concerns about INEOS's application for their injunction at an ex parte hearing, effectively a secret hearing, and he questioned whether or not the necessity for having this hearing in secret, i.e. without advising anybody it was taking place, was necessary. And yet this is now exactly what IGAS have done with the same judge, Justice Morgan, and now what Angus have done. And at this moment, as I speak, what I don't know, is who the judge was who made that ruling in secret last Thursday. Now, on Friday, I deposited my bundle with Field Fisher LLC. This is the IGAS legal team in London, and I would love to think that somebody else is going to challenge this injunction alongside me. I would love to think that there's a legal representation somewhere in the process, but unfortunately that's a luxury, I'll use that term loosely, that wasn't available. Actually, to be frank, I didn't even consider it. So I am going to challenge that injunction as litigant in person. And, you know, much of the argument has to be around how it is that these corporations are simply seeking to ride roughshod over parliamentary law. And of course the courts, the civil courts, the commercial courts, are also demonstrating really irrefutably that commerce has absolute precedence over human health. In fact, the courts will say, no, we don't want to know about that. We don't want to know about the risks and the dangers and the hazards and the proven negative health impacts, the proven effects on the ecology of this industry. No, Parliament has decreed that this is lawful, and therefore the corporations should be able to go about their lawful business without any kind of opposition. But hang on a second, that's not what democracy is all about. So either the Human Rights Act of 1998, which of course is subordinate to the European Convention on Human Rights, at least until next March, and enshrined in that, in Articles 10 and 11, are the right to freedom of expression, the right to assembly, and of course enshrined in the democratic process is the right to protest. And protest doesn't simply mean standing on the side of a road and waving a placard. You know, let's break down the etymology of the word protest. It's pro-test. It's a test of the level of support or otherwise for a particular issue. And what's very, very clear is that there is no other issue, quite like unconventional hydrocarbon exploitation, that has ever had the level of public opposition, with the possible exception of poll tax back in the days of Margaret Thatcher. Well, maybe Theresa May is looking to emulate Thatcher and establish her dictatorial credentials with the help of the judiciary. So what's going to be the reaction of Borkum? Well, of course, there was a massive response here in 2013. But now, of course, there are operations in Preston New Road. We have the 2 iGas sites at Tinker Lane and Misson Springs. And we have INEOS obviously looking to establish their exploratory well sites in South Yorkshire and North East Derbyshire. So obviously there isn't the opportunity for, and without forgetting, just up the road, Horse Hill, which is the UCOG site just north of Gatwick Airport. So it's going to come very much down to the local community, as it is everywhere else. And I guess what we're about to determine is whether or not the village of Borkum over the past 5 years has worked out a strategy as to what to do in the event of Quadrilla, but now Angus, coming back here to do that flow test. Because, you know, Claire Perry last week made the observation that any council that approves unconventional gas exploitation in their area is likely to be bombarded by a travelling circus of protesters. Well, I think Claire Perry demonstrated the degree to which she operates in absolute ignorance and cognitive dissonance last week. And in fact, I understand that her mailbox was so loaded that it was sending back responses saying, you know, please contact me via your local MP. So she's trying to put a filter in place so that she doesn't have to deal with the level of reaction to her crass comments in the parliamentary debate last Wednesday. But will the people of Borkum, will they actually now, 5 years on, step up to the plate and do what needs to be done here? Or will they wait for the travelling circus of protesters? Well, I think it's really, really important from this point forward that it is local communities that are absolutely seen to be driving the opposition to unconventional gas exploitation. The days of the politicians being able to claim that it's our travelling circus or it's itinerant protesters needs to be over. Yes, there are people who will support those communities, but it has to be community driven. And I'm pleased to say that in the bundle that I deposited with Field Fisher on Friday afternoon, the witness statements that were offered to me to support this challenge to the injunction are all from local people. Some of the majority, the vast majority, local to Misson Springs and Tinker Lane, a couple from Ellesmere Port, and a couple from North Yorkshire, who of course were successful in running off Third Energy earlier in the year, and then some outstanding and extremely powerful witness statements from the US and from Australia, where people have the experience of this industry. So I'm just getting notice here from Benjamin Dean, thank you Ben, that it was MH Rosen QC who made the Angus injunction order for Borkum and Brockham, and it was Field Fisher. So it's the same legal team that have been apparently representing iGas. So obviously Field Fisher believe that they have a template now where they can simply rock up to the court and get the stamp on the injunction. So hopefully, obviously, at least with iGas, there was a date set for a further hearing. And, you know, we had all of, what, 10 days to prepare the documentation to submit the challenge. and hopefully the people of Balcombe will mount their own challenge. So thanks for joining me here today at Balcombe. As you can see, basically right now, Angus have a clear run. And, you know, basically I'm here on my own. I'm outnumbered by the security guards at the gate by about 6 to 1 at least, and that's just what I could see. And so, you know, it's game on. Anyway, date for your diary if you're in the south of England. Of course, there are camps. There's a camp at Horse Hill, and I'm going to drop in by them on my way back north shortly. But otherwise, Tuesday, 2nd of October, in the commercial courts in Fetter Lane, London. And come and witness for yourself how the corporations and the judiciary are riding roughshod over parliamentary democracy. So thanks again for joining me, and I will be back tomorrow morning at 8:30. Catch you then.